I was born and raised Southern Baptist, you see. And I felt sorry for everybody that wasn't Baptist. But you know, friends, you could be a church member and not be a Christian. Being a member of a church wouldn't make you a Christian, my friends, any more than being a member of the country club would make you a Christian. And going to church, and yet we believe in being a member of a church. I'm a member of a church. And we believe in going to church. But just going to church alone wouldn't save you or make you a Christian any more than going to the barn would make you a cow. You have to be born again. And too many times I think we've got a lot of folks, that think I'm a Christian just because they're a member of the church. Well, I joined the church when I was 9 years old. And the reason I joined the church was because my Sunday school teacher said to all of we boys on one Sunday morning, how many of you want to go to heaven? Well, every one of us wanted to go to heaven. So the Sunday school teacher said, well, when the minister, Dr. So-and-so, gives the invitation this morning, you just go down to the front. Well, we all wanted to go to heaven, and so when the invitation was given, we just marched, several of us, right down to the front, and shook hands with the preacher. Joined the church and was baptized in water. And I really actually thought I'm a Christian. And sometimes, you'd get into an evangelistic type meeting, even that was sponsored by our own church, and the Spirit of God began to deal with you about getting saved. I'd say, well, I'm already saved. I belong to the church. I've been baptized in water. I'm already a Christian. I guess I just feel that, because there's a spirit of conviction here. So I didn't move. But you see, I was born with a deformed heart and born prematurely. And weighed less than 2 pounds when I was born. Now you have to realize that even in this modern day, in my day, they didn't have incubators to put babies in when they were born. And so the possibility of me living was practically nil. And I never ran and played like other little children as a child. I never had a normal childhood. And so when I was 15 years of age, I became totally bedfast. And the doctor said I had to die, 5 doctors. But it was there on the bed of sickness that I was born again. I was born again the 22nd day of April, 1933. In the south bedroom of 405 North College Street in the city of McKinney, Texas. That's 32 miles north of Dallas, Texas. 20 minutes till 8 o'clock on Saturday night. Now at 7:30, in this south bedroom, there was a fireplace. It's sort of a double fireplace. This front was here in the bedroom. The living room was adjacent. The other side of the fireplace was there. And Grandpa had a clock sitting on the mantelpiece of this fireplace. And my mother and my grandmother and my youngest brother, 9 years of age, were sitting there in the room with me, for I had taken a turn for the worse, and the doctor had been called. Remember, 1933, doctors made house calls. And so he was on his way, or supposedly on his way there to the house. They were sitting there in the room with me, and just as Grandpa's clock struck 7:30, my heart stopped beating within my bosom. And I could feel faster than you could snap your finger. The blood ceased to circulate way down at the end of my toes. My toes seemed to go numb. My feet, my ankles, my knees, my hips, my stomach, my heart. I leaped out of my body. I did not lose consciousness. I leaped out of my body like a diver would leap off of a diving board into the swimming pool. I knew it was outside my body. I could see them in the room, but I couldn't contact them. I began to descend. I had it in my mind to say goodbye to Mama, Granny as we called her, and my little brother. But I leaped out of my body before I said goodbye to them. When I said goodbye, I was going down into a pit, like you'd go down into a well or a cavern or a cave. And I did not know that my voice, physical voice, picked that up. I knew I was going down in that place when I said goodbye. But all three of them testified later, when you said goodbye, your voice sounded like you was way down in a cave or a cavern or something. And I continued to descend, went down feet first, down, 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 down. I could look up and see the lights of the earth. They finally faded away. Darkness encompassed me around about. Darkness that's blacker than any night man's ever seen. It seemed that if you'd had a knife, you could cut a chunk of it out. You couldn't see your hand if it was 1 inch in front of your nose. The further down I went, the darker it became, and the hotter it became. Until finally, way down beneath me, I could see fingers of light playing on the wall of darkness. And I came to the bottom of the pit. And yet it's just as real to me now as though it happened week before last. Spiritual things never grow old. I came to the bottom of the pit. I saw what caused the fingers of light to play on the wall of darkness. Out in front of me, beyond the gate or the entrance into hell, I saw a giant, great orange flames with the white crests. I was pulled, just like a magnet pulls metal into itself. I knew once I entered through that gate, I could not come back. I endeavored to slow down my descent. Because, see, when I came to the bottom of the pit, you still went at a slant down this way. I was conscious of the fact when I came to the bottom of that pit that there was some kind of a creature that met me. I didn't look at him. My gaze was riveted to the gates, the entrance into hell. Yet I knew he was right there by my right side. I didn't know for a good many years till I discovered in the scriptures later, in the book of Isaiah, the Bible said, hell from beneath is moved to meet thee at thy coming. It stirreth up the dead for thee. And so that creature, when I endeavored to slow down my descent, took me by the arm to escort me in. When he did, there was a voice that spoke, away above the blackness and the darkness. It sounded like a male voice or a man's voice, but I don't know what he said. I don't know whether it was God or Jesus or an angel or who. He did not speak in the English language. It was a foreign tongue. I don't know what he said. But the few words that he spoke, that place just shook. And the creature took his hand off my arm. And there was like a suction to my back parts. It pulled me back. I came floating back away from the entrance to hell until I stood in the shadows. And then like a suction from above, I came floating up, head first, up through the darkness. Before I got to the top, I could see the light like he was way down in the well. I've been down in the well. You can see the light up there. I came up on the porch. We lived in one of those old-fashioned houses like they used to build down in Texas, the Southwest, you know, and to build a porch nearly all the way around the house. And I came up on the porch, the south side of the house. I could see Grandpa's porch swing there. I could see the giant cedar trees in the yard. Just for a second, I stood there on the porch. I went right through the wall. Not through the door, not through the window, through the wall. And seemed to leap inside my body like a man would slip his foot inside of his boot in the morning time. When I got inside my body, and I could see before I leaped inside my body, my grandmother sitting on the edge of the bed holding me in her arms. And then when I got inside my body, I could communicate with her. I said to her, I don't know how I knew it, but I said, Granny, I'm going again. And I won't be back. She said, son, I thought you weren't coming back that time. I said, Granny, where's Mama? I want to tell her goodbye. I looked around the room. She wasn't in the room. She said, son, I told your mother you were gone. And she rushed out the door praying. And then I heard her. She was over on the north side of the house, and I came up on the south side. I heard her. She came back around that porch praying at the top of her voice. Folks tell me later on that they could hear her for blocks around, crying and praying. And I said, and so my mother called to her. I said, I want to tell Mama goodbye. And she called Lily, but she couldn't make her hear her because Mama was praying so loud. If you're not ready to go, you want somebody with you. You're afraid. You're afraid. And I said, Granny, don't leave me. Don't leave me. I'm afraid I'll go while you're gone. I want somebody with me. Don't leave me. And so she gathered me in her arms again. And I said, tell Mama I said goodbye. Tell Mama I said I love her. Tell Mama I said I appreciate her staying with us. My daddy forsook us when I was 6 years of age. And Mama was left with 4 children to endeavor to make a living for her. With all the trouble that she had, and being just a baby Christian and not knowing how to cast a burden upon the Lord, she had a complete nervous, mental, and physical breakdown. And I said, tell Mama I appreciate everything she's ever done for me and for all of us. And you tell Mama that I said if I've ever put a wrinkle in her face or a gray hair in her head, I'm sorry. And I asked her to forgive me. And I felt myself slipping. I said, Granny, I'm going again. You've been a second mother to me. When Mama's health failed, then we went to live with different kinfolks, 4 children. I came to live with my grandmother on my mother's side of the family. And my grandmother used to always call me her boy. And she'd always say, kiss me right there, kiss me right there. So I kissed her on the cheek and said goodbye. And my heart stopped. Just as real now almost as it was then. I could feel the blood cease to circulate. My toes, way down at the end of my toes, just went numb. Feet, ankle, knees, hips, stomach, heart. I leaped out of my body and I began to descend. Down, 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 down. Oh, I know it was just a few seconds, but it seemed like an eternity. Down until the darkness encompassed me around about, the lights above faded away. The further down you went, the hotter it became and the darker it became. Until I came again to the bottom of the pit and saw the entrance to hell, the gate as I call it, or gates. I was conscious that that creature met me. I endeavored to slow down my descent. It seemed like you're just floating down. And yet it seemed like there was a pull that pulled you. And that creature took me by the arm. And when he did, that voice spoke. A male voice, a man's voice. I don't know what he said. It was a foreign tongue. But when he spoke, that whole place just shook. That creature took his hand off my arm. It was like a suction to my back. Never turned around. I just come floating back into the shadows of darkness. And then it pulled me up head first. I could see the lights of the earth above me before I came up out of the pit. The only difference was this time I came up at the foot of the bed. The first time I came up on the porch, I came up at the foot of the bed for just a second. You stood at the foot of the bed. You could see your body lying there on the bed. You could see Grandma. She sat there and held you in your arms. I seemed to leap from the foot of the bed inside my body through my mouth. When I got back inside my body, I could communicate with Granny. I said, Granny, you know, we say out in the world, the third time's charm. The third time charm. I said, I'm going again and I won't be back this time. I don't know how, but I said that to her. She said again, son, I thought you weren't coming back that time. I said, Granny, where's Grandpa? I want to tell Grandpa goodbye. She said, son, you know your granddad went down the east part of town to collect rent off of some of his rent houses. Oh, I said, I remember that now. I just forgot the motel. I said, Granny, tell Grandpa goodbye. I've never known what it means to have a daddy. He's been the nearest to a daddy. He gave me a home when I had none. Tell him I appreciate him. Tell him I love him. Tell Grandpa I said goodbye. Then I left a word for my only sister, the oldest child, and my oldest brother. And then I said, where's Pat, my little brother, 9 years old? She said, well, he rushed next door and called the doctor again. And I left a word for each one of them. And my heart stopped the third time. And I could feel the circulation as it cut off. Suddenly my toes went numb. Faster than you can snap your finger, your toes, your feet, your ankles, your knees, your hips, your stomach, your heart. You leaped out of your body. And I began to descend. Now, till this time, I thought, this is not happening to me. This is just an hallucination. It can't be real. But I thought, this is the third time, and I won't come back this time. And in the darkness, when the darkness encompassed me around about, darker than any night man has ever seen. And the Bible talks about men and women being cast into the outer darkness where there's weeping and gnashing of teeth. And in the darkness I cried out, God, I belong to the church. I've been baptized in water. You see, I'm telling him I shouldn't be going this direction. I'm going the wrong direction. I waited for an answer, but there was no answer. Only the echo of my own voice through the darkness. And the second time I cried a little louder, God, I belong to the church. I've been baptized in water. I waited for an answer, but there was no answer. Only the echo of my own voice as it echoed through the darkness. The third time, and it'd be impossible. I'd scare you out of your wits if I screamed like I did. Somebody said, you're going to scare people? I'll tell you, you'll be scared enough. I've been there. If I could scare them out of hell and into heaven, I'd do it. I'd flat do it. I literally screamed, God, God, I belong to the church. I've been baptized in water. But you see, though being baptized in water is right, though belonging to the church is right, it takes more than belonging to the church and more than being baptized in water to miss hell and go to heaven. All I heard was the echo of my own voice as it echoed through the darkness. I came again to the bottom of that pit. Again, I could feel the heat as it beat me in the face. And I approached the entrance, the gates into hell itself. That creature took me by the arm. I intended to try to put up a fight if I could, to keep him going in. Only managed to slow down my descent just a little bit, and he took me by the arm. Thank God that voice spoke. I don't know who it was. I didn't see anybody. I just heard the voice. I don't know what he said. But whatever he said, that place shook, just trembled. That creature took his hand off my arm. It was just like there was a suction to my back parts, pulled me back, away from the entrance to hell till I stood in the shadows. And then it pulled me up head first. As I was going up through the darkness, I began to pray. My spirit, the man that lives inside this physical body, is an eternal being, a spirit man. And I began to pray, oh God, I come to you in the name of the Lord Jesus Christ. I ask you to forgive me of my sins and cleanse me from all sin. I came up beside the bed. The only difference of the three experiences was I came up on the porch the first time. I came up at the foot of the bed the second time. I came up right beside the bed and leaped right inside my body. When I got inside my body, my physical voice picked up my prayer right in the middle of a sentence. I was already praying out of my spirit, you see. But my physical voice picked up my prayer right in the middle of a sentence and just continued to pray. Now that's 1933. We didn't have all the automobiles in 1933, Depression. But they tell me that traffic was blocked for 2 blocks on either side of our house between me and Mama praying so loud. Amen. But I want you to know that it was just like a 2-ton weight lifted off of my chest. Peace came on the inside. And I looked at Grandpa's old clock on the mantelpiece and it said 20 minutes till 8 o'clock. All of that happened in 10 minutes. I was born again at 20 minutes till 8 o'clock. 1933 in the south bedroom, April the 22nd. Praise God. And I've been saved ever since then.